Okay, all right, great. So, public participation guidelines. Is that where I start? Yes. Members of the public wishing to participate in the meeting must use their full name for the Zoom access. If full names are not used, people will not be allowed to participate in the discussion. The town reserves the right to remove any member of the public from the meeting who doesn't use a full name. Confirming member access. As a preliminary matter, this is Abby Camp, Vice Chair. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Diane?
Aye. Here.
Carrie?
Here.
Stephen?
No, Johnny's here.
Johnny?
Aye.
And myself?
Yes.
I am here. Is there anybody else in the queue on the board or our associates? Jesse?
Madam Chair, I just let Stephen in.
Hi, Stephen. Can you affirm that you're here, Stephen?
I'm here.
Okay. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Holly?
Present.
Thank you. Kadeem?
Present.
Oh, very good. Good to see you. Any other staff members? No. Anticipated speakers on the agenda, please respond in the affirmative. State each anticipated speaker's name. I don't think we have any speakers at the moment, do we? Introduction to remote meeting. Good afternoon. This is an open meeting of the HDC being conducted remotely pursuant of Chapter 20, Acts of 2021. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the HDC is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided to the members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I, the chair, vice chair, notes otherwise. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. But before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules. I, the vice chair, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide comment, questions, motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone and computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. Members who wish to engage in a conversation, please do on Cisco Beach. For items for the public, after members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment to those members of the public that have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names and be acknowledged by the chair. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call. Do I have a motion to
Motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Diane. All in favor of Diane's motion? Carrie?
Aye.
Stephen? Johnny?
Aye.
And Stephen?
Aye.
And I myself. So that we've approved the agenda and public comment. We don't have any. What about the, do we go to consents now?
Madam Chair, there are no consents for this agenda, so we'd actually be going to new business 10/12/21, starting with application 147 Warren's Landing. I'm
Okay,
not certain if Joe is even here, so if Joe is here, it'd be nice for him to speak up. Since I don't hear Joe, and Madam Chair, we actually don't even have that application, and I don't hear Joe. So I say we hold applications 1 and 2, and we move on to 23 Prospect Street.
Yeah.
Madam Chairman, we'd like to hold that to the beginning of Tuesday, to give you guys a chance to take a look at that packet. I think that's probably the better part of valor to do that. I'd like to go to the beginning of Tuesday.
and
Make the motion to hold 1, 2, and 3 until Tuesday,
And 4, Diane.
4.
and 4.
okay.
Who dat?
Okay.
Who dat?
Diane, thank you. Carrie, are you in favor of Diane's motion?
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
and myself in favor. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Chair, we're now moving on to 27 Fair Street. Just give me a moment as I open that up. I do believe that Andrew is here.
I am here, but I'm curious who the board is because I think there may be some people missing.
So Andrew, your board is Pohl, Camp, McLaughlin, Coombs, and Thornwell. So we actually have everyone besides Ray. We have
Okay,
Camp, McLaughlin, Coombs, and Thornwell.
okay, we can go because I think these will be 2 easy approvals.
All right.
The
let's
other
do it.
2 more complicated applications are not submitted at this
Madam Chair,
time.
we also have photos from a butter and we have a deed search for the property as well, but I'll let Andrew present his proposal and we'll go from there.
Thanks, Kadeem. Okay, Andrew.
So which is the one we're starting with first here? Okay, so 27 Fair Front. A few things though, Holly, before you read anything. We have yet to complete our window survey. We are still in the process of doing that on all of the structures. I understand that any potential approval that we may or may not receive would be subject to the HTC receiving a full window survey of the structure itself. So please know that we are in process on that. It is just not yet complete. So I'm sure that was possibly mentioned by the HSAB. So for this building, Kadeem, if you want to go to the elevations, the new proposed elevations, much of the conversation last time was in regards to the rear massing that we are modifying. I think most of the discussion was about the second floor deck that we had off the rear, which we have since removed. Additionally, it was about the equalized shed dormers that we had facing both the north and south, facing the street and the abutter. And what we've done is we've modified that and created a little bit more of an asymmetrical roof condition, which I think is a little bit more characteristic of the quirkiness of some of these buildings. And we have since faced a gable dormer that faces the street, which we think probably has a slight bit more of appropriate feel. If you want to scroll down, Kadeem, and go to the next elevations, that'd be great. You can see that difference there. Additionally, we narrowed the size of the dormer and made the cheek walls, the eaves on either side of that dormer larger from what it was before. You can see before how the deck has come off the rear shed portion, and we've modified the dormer to be a gable,
Andrew,
which we think is actually very appropriate. Sorry, Dan?
What are we talking? What elevation are we talking about?
We're talking about the south elevation. That's really the main visible
Okay,
side of the structure of what we're proposing.
I got it up to now. Thanks a lot.
Yep. And we put back a lot of the irregular non-matching trim conditions around the windows and doors on the project. So we understand the intent of both HSAB and HTC is to embrace that inconsistency and and convert it to a consistent feel. So I believe I think we've achieved a lot of what was talked about last time, and I'm hopeful this is an approvable structure now, contingent upon the window and door survey, Holly, obviously. Period.
That was a run-on sentence. Didn't you take grammar? No.
Yeah, sorry.
So Andrew, thank you for that. And so on, this is 27 Fair.
Madam
What,
Chair,
it'll give people a chance to digest this. It's because it's.
I have comments from
Oh,
HSAB as
Holly,
well as
go.
staff.
Yes, we need you, Holly.
Thank you. So as everyone is aware, this is a circa 1835 typical Nantucket in the heart of the fish lots that was laid out in 1717, obviously by our proprietors of the island. And this structure has been an inn, and also been a residential use as well. HSAB took a look at these revisions. Obviously, the commission requested their re-review. Thank you for that. They looked at them on November 1st. On the front building, the proposed asymmetrical west-facing gable is inappropriate. This wing should remain as simple as possible and be lowered to reflect the appropriate additive massing. It should be changed to a symmetrical gable with a recessed, not flushed dormer. In addition, HSAB respectfully requests to review any revisions if the commission is so inclined to request revisions. Regarding staff's comments, yes, that was going to be my number one question. Where's the window survey? I would respectively request no approvals until that is provided to the commission. All the existing windows, even within that 1949 to 68 edition that's been provided based on the professional preservation engineers. And again, thank you, Andrew, for hiring those professionals. They should be kept instead of adding new, and that should be very clear in any proposed additions. Thank you also for removing that rear deck that has been a contentious item with this addition onto the structure. But I would also echo HSAB's comments on the rear addition. The gable is, moving in a better direction. However, it should be a lot lower and a lot subordinate to that addition and reflect more of what is existing as the typical additive massing for these typical Nantucket structures. Also, for the benefit of the commission, I do also want to let you all know, I know we have quite a few members from the public in this meeting this afternoon about these applications. But for the commission, if you're not aware, this application, although not obviously under your purview, but it is, should be at least noted that these applications will also be before the planning board for the uses, I think later this month. So those are my comments. And again, I do believe we do have members of the public in this meeting. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Holly. So I can't remember, what's Robert's rules? Do we go to the board first or the public?
Public.
Okay, can I hear from a public person in the queue?
Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, this is Arthur Reed.
Hello, Arthur.
I have my hand raised, and I note that Hillary Rayport also has her hand raised. I represent some 30 residents and neighbors of the project at 27 and 29 Fair Street. Obviously, we are reviewing and are concerned with all of these applications. We agree wholeheartedly with the recommendations of HSAB with regard to this. We think that the extent of the addition to the rear of the building with the increase in height of the rear wing is inappropriate. And again, rather than go through a great deal of detail on this, let me say that we agree with HSAB and would ask that further revisions be made in order to scale down the changes to the rear part of the building.
Thank you, Arthur. Thank you very much. Is there another person from the public that would like to comment?
I have some comments.
Well, John, we're almost at the board, but we're hearing from the public now. So we have to give them a chance to
Okay,
talk.
thank you.
Kadeem, could you pull a member? Could
Yep,
you
I
pull
think
a-
Hillary has her hand raised and she can speak up if she's ready.
Okay,
Great.
for some reason, I can't see people with their hands.
All right,
raised.
Madam Chair, I'll take care of it.
Thank you, Kadeem.
Hillary, please go ahead.
Thanks, Kadeem. Thank you, Abby, and members of the commission. Yeah, I live in the neighborhood here. This Hiller's Lane is part of my usual evening walk. So I'm pretty familiar with the buildings. Of course, I have fond memories of dining and even being a lodger at the Woodbox back in 2000. So I wanted to make some comments. I do chair the Nantucket Historical Commission, and I'm here just making comments as a member of the public. I did do some research on this house. I wanted to share some information just about the context and the history of the building, which I think is helpful to the board in executing on their mission, which is to maintain the historic character of the historic town and make sure that all additions and modifications are done in with a sympathetic sense of the area. So this house was, it was a family residence. It was the Earl Ray family lived here for generations. It was last, when it was a private home, the home of Richard Ray. He was the health inspector of Nantucket. And Tim Silverino lived in this home as a lodger when he was a young man. And he applied to the select board to rent 4 rooms in this house. So he received that, you know, especially given the context. And then later, Richard Ray, being the owner, sold this house to Claire Murray, who created a guest house called Fair Gardens. And she made a beautiful garden. The garden that's behind on Hiller's Lane, and it was one property, the lot on Hiller's Lane and this front facing lot. It was a Shakespearean style garden and an herb garden, and she would have quilting bees and quilting instruction in her home. And there were garages and workshops. Earl Ray was a carpenter. So there were garages and workshops on the back lot. And Claire Murray applied to create an annex to her guest house, which would have 2 rentable rooms in it. And that's the largest part in the back. I know the back is a separate structure, but just to give you a sense of the evolution, because it is one property, she made one of the existing workshops, it might have even been a chicken coop because there were chickens on this property in the 20s, into a storage shed. And then the subsequent owner, Stephen Gaw, who also ran Fair Gardens, a guest house, turned that into a single family residence for him to live in with his family as the innkeeper. And he was permitted to do that because he accepted a restriction to not have that rented as guest rooms. That restriction has been forgotten about, and this property has been permitted for 8 guest rooms when in fact, with considering the restrictions, it would have been 6. So that's a little bit of the history. You know, I think it's really fantastic that a well-resourced and a sensitive firm, private equity investment firm, has purchased this property because it's dilapidated. It hasn't gotten the care that it needs, and that's true of both applications. So I think everyone is really excited for the opportunity to revitalize, rehabilitate this building. But I have to say, being familiar with the area, this street is so narrow that trucks actually hit the Woodbox when they go around it, or 29 Fair. You're going to hear, you've heard a lot about that. You'll continue to hear a lot about that. I am just personally saying that it's my opinion that the increase in size is against and in violation of what contributes to the neighborhood. This building at 27 Fair Street, front and back, has 38% lot coverage at this point. The zoning is for 40% lot coverage. The only reason this really intense zoning works is because the buildings are low and they kind of tumble down to the street. They're different in size. You know, Claire Murray left that, that little shed because it's charming. It was a charming backdrop to her gardens. Everything was covered in roses. And, you know, this has all kind of fallen away and maybe even people have forgotten about it, but we could bring it back. But we're not going to bring it back by creating a 12-room boutique hotel at 27 Fair Street. So I respectfully ask that this application be denied, or if it could be deferred until after the planning board meeting. I'm concerned about all the time. You know, your time is a scarce resource. You have all the neighbors who are very upset. They have a lawyer. And this is, in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, but I think it's a non-permitted use. So I'd like to see this actually take up the HDC's time when we actually know what's possible. And I'd really encourage the applicant to maintain the spirit of Fair Gardens, which I think contributes to the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Hillary. That's thanks for all that extra history of the owners, and yeah, it gives us a rounded feeling of the neighborhood that we don't all know. So thank you for that. Kadeem, is there someone else that would like to speak from the public before I go to the board?
Madam Vice Chair, there's no one else with their hands raised, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's no one else that wants to speak. So if someone else does want to speak, I would suggest that they do so now.
I'll
And
go.
Madam Chair, I would say let John go.
Okay, John, now we're going to go to the board. John, would you like to go first?
Say that again, please.
We're going to hear from the board now. Would you like to go first?
If you'd like, yes.
Okay,
Thank you. Okay. Proposed elevation south. Okay, on the left side, under the, you got more glass than wood on that door, the left door. That should be changed over to, trip it upside down. Have more wood than glass. Could we go to the application, please? Okay, all right, on it, where are the windows? Windows, there we go. They're double hung, they're fixed, but now, and it's simulated divided lights. That's what I'm questioning.
John, we corrected that last time. That was an error in the application. It's already in the meeting minutes that everything is to be a true divided light. That was an error in our submission process.
Please don't interrupt me. Let me have my say. You're
Okay,
confused.
sorry.
Okay, the simulated divided lights. Now, what exactly do you explain that on the front door also? But also, I'm interested in the windows. Are they going to replace windows there on the whole application?
Johnny, are you asking, who are you?
Are you asking me? Yes,
Yeah, I
me,
mean,
John.
if Andrew.
Yeah, John. Yeah, John,
Andrew,
we're in the
could you answer
process.
that question?
Sorry, John, we're in the process of completing a detailed window survey, which is being done by the historic consultant that we engaged. And our intent is to restore as many of the windows that we possibly can that is feasible. And then any new window will be noted in the survey and will be done to match existing. That is our plan. But some of the, as everybody has already articulated, these buildings are in extreme disrepair and some of the windows may be past
Point of order.
their state of restoration.
John, he's answering your question about the windows.
That's right. And I have more to say on the elevation. I'm not through.
No, I know, but he was just answering your question about the windows. Continue, John.
Oh, okay, yes, there's simulated divided lights. Long as are they wooden or are they plastic or what are they?
Those are going to be true divided lights, and he's working on a window survey.
Okay, all right, now on the south elevation, yeah, that's where I said they has that 12 light over what, a panel, is it? It should be the other way around. Should be more wood than there is glass. That's very highly viewable right from the lane there. Go to the east elevation, please. Okay. All right, that's all right. East elevation. No, no, the west, west or east, either one. No, that's the east. All right, could I have the west, please? Okay, that's all right. That's a 15 light window that's there for that is inappropriate. It's for highly visible as you go up that lane. They had to change that to a different type door. The door to the left of it, which you can't see now, it's on the flat wall. It's a regular two panel door. So could you go to the east elevation, west elevation, please? I'm sorry, north elevation. Okay,
Oh, sorry, that's so.
There you go, John.
okay, that's my question. Yeah. Right in the center, there's a double hung, yeah, there's a double window. Could they be separated to match the upstairs above it? So it's not out of kilter on a regular view. Could those two windows be separated? I think they should.
They're existing.
Yeah, they're existing.
They're existing. Why are they highlighted?
They're highlighted because we had altered the trim on the windows to match, but we had since put the trim back to maintain the existing condition.
Okay. Thank you. I'm through. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Carrie,
Did Diane want to go?
I'll go.
yeah, go ahead, Diane.
Okay, what I think is, as was said on the west elevation, the, is it the, oh, now I have lost it all. The one with the enlarged,
Shoot. Oh, you could just tell him I'll be
Roof.
right in there.
I give the south elevation.
Diane, 1 second. I just have to get it all pulled back up.
That's all right.
And Diane, what elevation did you want to see?
Let me try the south elevation.
All right, 1 moment.
The paper fell and I can't reach it.
Here we
Town
are,
might need some
Diane.
more robust computers here.
We really do. Can you
There.
see that, Diane?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
The one with the dormer, with the two windows and the height of that thing, I do not approve of that. It has got to come down to one floor. It is within inches of being the same height as the main house. And therefore I don't like it. I don't think it's good. I agree mostly with what Hassap has said. And Hillary, it's an old building. It was this and then it was that. And I don't know what the planning board is going to put it back to. but along that street, this is right on the street. It's very important to keep it the way it was. So I would reduce that little window or take it out and drop the roof down to where it was before. Keep it a one-story building. The front is fine. It doesn't look like you're changing it at all. So I think that I would like to see the request of Hashab kept in mind, that dormer to go down, it to be the way that it was, so you don't have that the second roof coming down on the west elevation, and instead you have now 2 windows and a little 3/3. I would like to see that elevation again when that roof is dropped down. And that's about it for right now. I'm sure there'll be more, but
Thank you,
Other people-
Diane.
other people
Um,
got to say.
Carrie or Stephen, would you like to weigh in?
Yeah, I'll go. I think the tertiary mass that is being added to is too big. I think last time I said we shouldn't be introducing dormers to this piece. And because I think the little mass that there is existing there now, it's on the south elevation, I think, or yeah, is it the south elevation? I think that little piece isn't that typical of an addition either. I don't mind the shed mass at the very end, but that tertiary piece needs to be lowered. And I think there should not be dormers on this building. I think that piece is the correct piece to play with, but it needs to be a lot more sensitive in height. Here, that's about it. I appreciate your keeping all the windows, et cetera, on the main mass and secondary mass.
Thank you, Carrie. Stephen,
Actually, Madam Chair, I'm not on this group, 27 Fair Street.
oh, that's too bad. Okay, so I agree with what's been said. I think the proposed is overwhelming the main mass. Given the history that I just heard about how this house has evolved, I really am enjoying this very sort of simple structure off the back. So I would just like to retain it the way it is. I mean, if this is going to be could be a great place for a suite. So I kind of like what's there. But I think, do I hear a motion to hold?
Make a
Well,
motion.
Wait, Madam
for-
Chair, can I just first ask a few questions before we make a motion?
Absolutely,
So-
Andrew.
I just, I the words people use are somewhat dramatic in that, we're destroying the context of the neighborhood. We're simply adding a fairly small second floor addition to an existing footprint. Let's be real about what it is. And people increase portions of historic structures to a second floor all the time within the historic district in Nantucket. So I think we should, not try to separate the scope of this entire project from the individual application, and that what we're actually suggesting here is not a significant or radical change from the existing structure. What I'm hearing from the board, although it seems to be split and certainly very contradictory to the last meeting we had, is that several of you seem to be opposed to any second floor addition. Whereas in the last meeting, we talked about the fact that a second floor addition was appropriate to create. No one had any issue with the single story shed condition off the rear. The discussion was really about all of the dormers. So I'm a little confused about the change in position from last meeting to this meeting. It's a little difficult to move a project forward when things are changing. And 2, trying to understand and gain clarity from what the board's position is right now.
Andrew.
That if a second floor is not possible, then it's a very different approach, right? And I would agree with Carrie that if I came in front of you today with the single story addition off the rear, it would be something that would never get approved based on the low slope of the roof conditions, the asymmetry of the roof conditions, which is what I was re-implementing, as I said, that quirkiness into the second floor. So I think, we have to separate whether we want to embody the inconsistencies that are within this project as a whole, or if we want the new additions to be something that is more typical and symmetrical and balanced. I had this conversation with HSAB a few weeks ago, and I think there's a little bit of a mixed interpretation happening there, which is a little bit confusing as an applicant.
Andrew, I think that every single person on this board said that the additive massing was overwhelming with that gable, with the two windows and the gable coming off the back. I don't think that was inconsistent. If we could look at that, I think it's the south elevation. I think that's, and I think it is overwhelming the main mass. So that's what I would work on to make that a subtler addition. I think that was the consensus of the board. I think every person said that, even John, with his comment about the doors. I mean, I think we want it to telescope back in a simpler way.
Madam
Okay, so
Chair,
if I was to come back with a lower tertiary mass with no dormers, that's something that the board could probably get behind, but there would still be some
No.
second floor capacity.
There's no guarantees, but I think that would be a better approach. But could I hear from Holly, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to mention by my notes from the last meeting that you all looked at this, it was overwhelming about the simplicity of the changes that need to be done. I think and I understand, Andrew, that there was a lot of the discussion was about that second floor deck. They did not like that second floor deck. So again, I think everybody is appreciative of that's not in the program anymore. But there was an overwhelming feeling of making sure that it was simpler was the conversation. If you really look at the historically speaking, additive massing on these typical Nantuckets are simpler. So again, that's been the driving conversation since before. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you,
Fair.
Holly. So Andrew, do you have
Yeah.
something to go on now?
I think so. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to hold for revisions.
Thanks, Diane. On Diane's motion, John. Holding for revisions, John.
Yes,
Is this also HSAB, Madam Chair?
Yes? Sorry.
Is this also to go back to HSAB?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you. I
Thank
think
you.
that's part of Diane's motion. So Carrie, and I guess it's just myself. Diane, on your motion,
Aye.
and I'm an aye, so that passes. Thank you.
Okay, so we are now going to move on to the rear building on this site. And as I think we had talked about last time, that we were going to do a little bit more research because somehow there was a hiccup in our initial historical data that we gathered to confirm that this building was in fact not an historic building because there was no information. There was information on what was on this site, but this structure had been enveloped and taken over what were the smaller structures there previously. The footprints did not line up, and I believe we had since submitted information to the HDC to show that this building is a new structure that was built, I'm drawing a blank, either in the late 60s or early 70s. And so what we are looking to do is to essentially convert the application of this to a full demolition, and are planning to come back with a proposal that is 3 smaller cottages to go on this property rather than these large vertical masses that stretch together and continue across the streetscape of Hiller's Lane. We've heard a lot of the butter information. There's been a lot of information sent to us. We've heard what the board said. And I think we're sort of regrouping in that we like this idea of literally smaller structures a little bit more in scale with the homes in the area rather than a large structure. So we are looking to remove this building in its entirety and start all over again. And Kadeem, you don't have that information that we sent? I thought it was sent.
Andrew, it's actually in the top left corner there, the clouded section. There's a
Got
memo,
it.
text memo stating that the building was built in 1981.
81, thank you, even better.
All this is revised to
Yeah.
reflect the updated
Yeah.
assessment.
May I ask?
But hold on, Diane, I just want to keep it simple. So Andrew, is that your presentation?
That is it. Yeah, we don't have anything here to propose to you today. We are simply looking for the board to provide confirmation that since the building is from 1981, that we can remove it.
Okay.
And you can make that approval condition upon seeing what's going to replace it, obviously, because we're going to come back with something. But nevertheless, what we had talked about last time as a group was if we can show you that the building is not contributing, it's not at all additions to structures that were there previously, then we would be able to start all over again, which we think will result in a far more appropriate and scaled approach to this neighborhood,
Right.
which
thank
should
you for that.
hopefully satisfy a lot of the abutters and stuff.
Yeah, that would be a nice combination to the date of it and to be able to see what's proposed. Holly, do you have?
Yes, Madam Chair, I do.
Okay. I'd like.
So first off, I would like to read HSAB's comments from November 1st, based on what you're seeing before you, as well as I did want to mention, I'm pretty sure there's not only comments from both Arthur and Hillary, but I believe there's also some other abutters in attendance this afternoon that may have some additional information on the fact that this property was Earl Ray's contractor shop, and that I believe that portion of that shop is actually still in existence. But that there is merit to that this structure has evolved and did have some changes back in the 1990s, but I wouldn't necessarily say that this entire structure is dated from that time frame. But anyway, here are the comments from HSAB on this back building. It remains a possibility that the right side shed was not completely rebuilt and is still an existing historic structure. If so, it needs to be protected. This age needs to be verified by looking at the existing framing materials. This creates a very long townhouse looking building with multiple front doors, which has no historic precedent. The proposed additions should be set back, not project forward from the existing structure, and they should be more secondary in height and massing. In order to maintain the present scale of the neighborhood facing Hiller's Lane, this building should remain as its current size. The loss of a small scale accessory buildings has a significant impact on the character of the neighborhood. And HSAB respectfully requests future revisions back to them, and I would concur. I did want to notate that having conversation with an abutter, Mr. Fortis at 3 Darling Street, that the smaller section, Kadeem, if you could zoom back out, sorry, showing the smaller section was Earl Ray's contractor shop, which is what Hillary was alluding to. They owned these 2 lots. And I don't necessarily agree with the statement that's on the plans that says that all the historic structures have been removed. They may have been altered through the changes that were done back in the 90s, but yeah, that's definitely, that smaller section was a contractor shop. And I do want to just caution the commission on going by that, as well as, maybe some revisions do need to be provided back. Because again, the changes to the character of the neighborhood obviously is extremely important. So those are the comments, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly, for that. So on the back portion of 27 Fair, would someone like to?
I'll
from the
begin.
board?
What about people? Is anybody
Oh.
waiting to talk?
Oh,
Is there someone in the public that would like to talk?
yes.
Yes.
This is
Arthur.
Arthur.
Madam Chair, we do
I
have
have my
people and I
hand
will,
raised.
okay. Arthur, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks very much. On behalf of my clients, we've done quite a bit of research on the history of building on this lot. And as indicated, The main part of the house that's on there at the present time was constructed as a single-family dwelling by Claire Murray in 1981. It was permitted in 1980 and completed in 1981. That's based upon the building department files, also Board of Appeals files, and information received from Mr. Fordyce, who's lived in the neighborhood for many years and who has a great deal of personal knowledge about all of this. And the shed or contractor shop has always been there. And in the mid 1990s, when Stuart and Lee Gaw were living in the house as they managed the guest house on the site and also a couple of other guest houses on the island that were in same ownership, they went before the Board of Appeals in order to request permission to connect the contractor shop, which is, I guess, what we will call it, could be described as many different things, but to connect it to and make it a part of the single-family dwelling, which is exactly what has happened. They did that according to the decision because they wanted additional space, living space for their family as they lived in the house, and that was approved. And parts of the decision indicated that it was not to be used, that the property was not to be used, that is this house, as rental units, and also that there was to be 4 parking spaces for legal, properly dimensioned parking spaces on the site. So the application that you have before you, and I understand from what Andrew says that they plan to approach it differently now, but on this application, what you would have if they were going forward with what was submitted would be that the one historic part of the building, that is the contractor shop, would be eliminated or at least completely subsumed and swallowed up in the new construction. Whereas the older part of the newer part of the house would remain and be added to. In any event, it would be completely.
That's not what we're
contrary to the
doing, so it's a
preservation of the
moot point
old
at this
small-
point.
Andrew, please, just let.
Sorry.
Right, I understand, but the point is that if there is to be an approach of having various separate smaller structures on the site, which obviously we and you and HSAB are all going to want to look at very carefully, I think that it is to be noted that the contractor shop is a historic structure and should be protected and preserved as part of that process. I think that covers it from my end.
Thank
right
you,
now.
Arthur. That's good information. So
Madam Chair, we now have Bill Fordyce. Bill, you can go ahead, please.
Well, in the 1940s and 50s, Earl's Ray's Carpenter Shop was in operation. I think it was also in operation in the 30s because at that time, at 2 Hillers Lane, the cottage we have, that used to be the carriage house for 3 Darling Street. And in the 30s, my father tells me that Earl Ray was the one that converted it to the cottage that it is now. Now, later on, in the 80s, I didn't happen to be on the island at the time, but what my understanding is that that they did reconstruct it. You know, there was a lot of work done there, but still the main structure dates back to the carpenter shop.
interesting. Okay, so it sounds like we've got differing historic.
Madam
dates.
Chair, if that's all for Bill, we do have Hillary with her hand up as well.
Okay, Hillary, go
Hillary, you
ahead.
can go ahead.
Thank you so much. I agree that the smallest portion of this adjoining building is a historic structure dating from when Earl Ray lived here and was a carpenter. He was a veteran of both World Wars, which is an interesting fact. The only Nantucketer is a veteran of both the First and Second World War. The larger structure was built in 81. I would consider this a historic structure as well. And the reason for that is that it is 43 years old. So it is approaching the sort of guideline of 50 years to be considered historic structure. And that is a guideline, meaning that something has to be around long enough for us to have perspective on its cultural significance, its contribution to the neighborhood. And I think that this tradition of these charming guest houses on Nantucket in the neighborhoods, I mean, this is not a commercial area. This is a guest house that's in a neighborhood. And it contributed to that neighborhood. It was designed to be a certain scale. It had all of this frontage. In fact, at one point, everybody complained that Claire Murray had turned all of her on-site parking into a beautiful garden, and therefore all the cars of her guests were on the street, and people had a problem with that. So it's just very interesting to dig into the old papers and learn about the history of these places. I think all of that would support that these were designed and built in a way and during a period of time that they are contributing structures on Nantucket. The addition in the middle and the hyphen adjoining it, this is all restricted. And, you know, I know that you're not the planning board, but I think we do need to work across silos on Nantucket. And I'm speaking as a member of, you know, a municipal employee with the Historical Commission. We do need to work across silos, and we need to use everybody's time productively. So I would certainly not want to see any permits for demolition of buildings that were put up in the first place because they have special permitted use and certain restrictions against rental. The board should also be aware that the looking into the archives of the Inquirer and Mirror, you can see a long history of defending the open space on this lot. The Summer House wanted to put a lap pool in. John McLaughlin, you were the only person who voted for it, but everybody else opposed it and it went to court. I'm sure people remember that. And Stephen Gaw wanted to add an addition. He agreed to put a dormer on instead. So there's a long history of keeping this space open and the HDC supporting that. So I would just agree with the comments others have made about the design and really appreciate the existing structure. And quoting from Everett U. Crosby, it's 95% perfect just the way it is.
Thank you, Hillary. Anybody else from the public, Kadeem? I can't see anybody.
Madam Chair, not that I see at this time.
Okay, let's go to the board. Yes, John.
Yes, I heard, I'd like to add something to this. Now, what Mr. Forta stated was correct, but when we were both raised in that area, and where you now are looking at the two duplicate doorways, and that lot at that time, back in the 40s and early 50s, was a sand lot. It had a cement retaining wall, and that's all it was there. Whatever was there, they moved it years ago, and that was it's just a sand lot. So that new addition onto what's there now is appropriate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. Diane?
Yeah, I trying to ask Andrew whether the little building to the right is connected to the middle building. Is that actually separate with just a roof, or is it built?
There is, Diane, there's no interior connection.
Okay.
But it is in fact connected through that hyphen, that gasket that is there. It's
Okay.
connected, but you can tell that they were built at completely different times.
Yeah,
For sure.
They had made some connection or they left it alone. Personally, I don't like the two front doors on one next to the other. I think it is not what is usually found. I think that the windows should be separated. The two should be, if it's a 4-bay, there should be a window over the top. Facade's got to be changed. I wouldn't demo it, or I would say, I think that it needs further study on our part and to go back to HASHAB with what we've learned today from both Hillary and see what actually is true and what is supposed, so we know what we're doing. I can't make a decision at the moment. I don't know what those big square windows are on the east elevation and the north elevation. I'd like to go back myself and look at it more carefully and put it together. It's been some time since I've been down Hiller's Lane, and I'm not really comfortable and giving a answer now, except I would not demo it at the moment. That's it.
Thank you, Diane. Carrie? Is Carrie with us? She could be
Sorry, I
muted.
was talking to nobody on mute. If this particular house is being voted on demoing or not, I don't want to do that today. I don't really exactly know what we're talking about, except that personally, I don't think the main mass of this house is really a contributing structure just because of its age. I think the way it appears, it's not a traditional 4-bay, 5-bay, anything. It's the reverse salt box addition to it to then added to the original structure. I just don't see it as a really quality building. That being said, the historic piece on the right, if what Andrew said earlier, they're looking at potentially doing 3 or a number of smaller buildings, I would like to see that, because the garden of this house is important historically and visually, keeping things beautiful on that little alley. That 3 little buildings, I don't know about zoning, what that entails, but it might be a way to go back to the original. I think Hillary had said originally there were a few small structures on this property that were warehousey or workshop in nature. So I'm open to seeing what could be here, with a lot of scrutiny on looking at the past, what was there, and keeping it open and small scale. I think that would be lovely compared to the big honker that's there right now.
Agreed.
Madam Chairperson,
Yes, John?
thank you. I had a comment. It was mentioned that this structure now where it sits is a guest house. That has nothing to do with the HDC. What the internal usage has been used. So there should be no mention of what it was. It is a building, and we only judge the exterior architectural features. So I'm just saying that comment was not right for that. I'll make a motion that we hold this for revisions as stated by the commission.
All right, I just want to sort of recap that I personally would like to get these dates confirmed, especially about the far right, and make sure that that little shop is not older than, the 40s or whatever. So Andrew,
That is okay,
you have
Madam
a
Chair. I'm absolutely fine. I would just like to say to everybody on this meeting here that we are trying to work together as a group to come up with the best resolution here. And if anyone in the public or Arthur, if you have information, perhaps we should all put our brains together to share the historical information we have rather than working across aisles from one another. I think we'll find that we'll come to a much better place and waste a lot less of everyone's time in doing so. So I will reach out after this meeting to try to gather that information. Hopefully everyone will be open to sharing the knowledge that they have, because I think it's just a much better way to work.
I think that's a great
you.
idea, rather than doing it here on the Zoom.
Rather than showing up blind and trying to take the other person down for no reason doesn't really make sense.
I would
in my
make a
opinion.
motion-
Okay.
I would make a motion to hold for revisions and more information and for it to go back to HASHAB.
Thank you, Diane.
You have a motion on the floor.
Yeah, I was just wondering, John, could you add that you want the historic information and for it to go back to HSAB? And that Andrew will reach out to neighbors and historians to find out the history of this building?
Yes, I agree to add that. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Everybody on John's motion, Diane,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
and myself, I'm an aye. Thank you, Andrew.
Okay, we have one more.
I vote aye too.
Yeah, thank you, John.
You're welcome.
So it's my understanding, you know what? I think it's best that we hold this application until we have the window survey.
Okay.
Because I don't think that the scope is really that significant based on the last meeting and based on what Holly outlined. And I don't disagree that we should not issue an approval until you have the historic window survey information. I think it probably makes sense to not open the application for this meeting, if that's okay with everybody.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's probably a wise idea. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of back and forth and we.
For nothing,
Yeah.
about nothing that we don't have the information on yet. So I think that makes sense.
So do I hear a motion to hold this?
I
for
make
next
a
week?
motion to hold this until Andrew says he has the information that he wants.
Thanks,
Sure.
Diane. Carrie on the motion,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
and myself, aye. And Diane on your motion?
I'm an aye.
Okay, that passes. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank
All
you,
right.
everyone.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Andrew.
Bye.
Madam Vice
Thank you.
Chair, we're now on to new business, but the first 4 applications are going to be held for Tuesday. So we do need a motion for the holding of applications 1, 2, 3, and 4 under new business 10,
I
20.
make that motion.
Thanks, Diane. On Diane's motion, Johnny,
Would you repeat that, please, that motion?
to hold the first 4 applications.
The first floor. Oh, okay, up there. Okay, thank you.
Are you in favor of that? Of Diane's motion?
Yes.
And Carrie?
Aye.
Is it
Where's-
Steve? Is Steve in the here?
Where's my stuff?
I am.
Okay, are you in favor of Diane's motion?
I won't ask you to repeat the motion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. And I am too. So that carries.
Madam Chair, give me one moment as I try to gather 71 Orange Street. I do believe that Paul is in the queue here. Actually, Paul, if you're here, you might want to say that you are so that I don't.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I
Perfect.
just forgot to unmute myself as always.
Paul, you don't by chance have this submission, do you, to share? Because I don't actually have it.
You don't?
I don't believe, I'm looking for it now and I don't have it ready to go at least.
Let me bring it up. Hold on one second, please. Interesting.
Paul, if you're gonna need some time, we can move on to an application that is ready to go.
Yeah, by all means.
All right, Madam Chair, I'm really actually kind of not certain what's going on. I don't have 5, 6, 7, or 8. So if we could hold 5, 6, 7, and 8 for the time being, I know that 48 Sparks Ave is here and they are ready to go.
Okay.
I
Do
just
I
have
hear a
to get
motion?
that one up.
I make a motion to hold 5, 6,
Well-
7, 8.
And 8. 8, okay. On Diane's motion, Steve,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
John,
I'm having trouble with that. What was the motion, please?
to hold 4 through 8.
4 through 8? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm in favor of Diane's motion.
To hold on. Okay.
Okay, number 9.
Yeah, give me one moment, Madam Chair, as I get that up. Can you guys see that application? Oh, give me one moment then. Let's see.
Number 9.
How about now, Holly?
Is anybody representing this?
John, we are on number 9. Yeah, 48 Sparks Ave, and there is someone here representing. He's going to talk right now.
Yes, this is Dick Webb, architect with SMRT Architects and Engineers. John McMeeking, landscape architect, is also with us, and I believe Diane O'Neill, Director of Facilities and Grounds, is also on the phone. I just want to confirm everyone can hear me. Okay.
I can hear you.
Yep.
Thank you, Diane. There are 2 applications in front of you. First one is a relatively straightforward demolition application. Kadeem, thank you for putting that image up on the screen. The project essentially involves the reconstruction and renovation of the athletic fields that are located directly to the east of the existing Nantucket High School and Cyrus Pierce Middle School. Essentially, the area is bounded by Sparks Avenue on the left side of the image, First Way on the right side of this image, and then the high school parking and facilities are located at the bottom of this image. Again, I mentioned there were 2 formal applications in front of the commission today. The first being the demolition. Essentially, this involves we are removing the existing cinder track. We are removing the existing grandstand and bleacher area. We're also proposing to remove the existing team room that is located on the south side of the existing track, and also the small concession and booster building that's located closest to the wind turbine area on campus. All of these improvements are proposed to be removed as part of this project. We also will be moving to the north toward closer toward Sparks. We will be relocating the baseball field to the Bacchus Lane fields. The backstop will be removed. The existing varsity baseball backstop will be removed, and all that fencing will be removed and replaced with new black vinyl chain link fence. With the committee's approval, I'd like to almost just roll right into the next application, which is after we pull all this material out, what are we putting back in? And then can certainly open it up for any questions that the commission has. But the project essentially involves the number 1, the construction of a new compliant 400-meter track facility. As you know, as you're aware, the existing track does not meet any sort of MIAA standards for competition. This new track will. It'll be a combination 6 distance lanes with 2 additional sprint lanes for a total of 8 lanes on the sprint chute. It's proposed as a synthetic surfaced track that I'm sure many of you are very familiar with in other municipalities. Inboard inside of that 400-meter track oval is a synthetic turf field. Dimensions are proposed to make it a true multi-purpose field where it can support football and lacrosse, field hockey and soccer. The primary users of the field will remain, consistent with with current use, again, primarily a football used primarily for football and lacrosse. On the north side or the left side on the image here of the multi-purpose field and track is a new grandstand and press box facility. Totals about a little over 950 seats. So that will be an increase from the current grandstand facility, but more importantly, it brings all of the, brings this structure up to meet current code in terms of providing the accessibility to the grandstand facility and the even distribution of the required handicap seating spaces throughout that facility. It's designed as a top and bottom loaded system, and we've got a section on that I'll explain a little bit further in the presentation. But the press box is proposed at the top elevation of the grandstand, but because it is a top and bottom loaded system, this project does not require the use or the installation of elevators or lifts to provide that accessibility. On the moving closer towards Sparks is a second proposed synthetic turf field that again will primarily support the play for field hockey and for lacrosse, again in that area. And it also, the walk that you see wrapping around on the west and north ends is to formalize and improve and maintain the safe access, student access from the school campus towards Sparks, crossing to the after-school activities over at the Boys and Girls Club. Between the two synthetic turf fields, we are proposing to increase and reconfigure some parking where we improve and create a dedicated drop-off and pickup area for students and their parents. But the project will now include the addition of 62 more parking spaces to the school campus. And that is something that has been a perennial issue with the campus. And so we're again addressing that program need with this project as well. I should note right to the south of that, the couple of squares illustrate the existing wind turbine. The wind turbine is not proposed to be disturbed at any point during the construction or at the completion of the project. Working back to the field, the track and field project, just a couple other points I do want to make highlight to the committee. Number one, the field is proposed to be lighted. To maintain, it currently is lighted. The lighting system now, though, essentially has mounting heights for the fixtures that vary between about 45 feet in height and 65 feet in height. What that does is that creates a more uneven distribution of the light patterns. And you can see these images on the top. The top two images are of our field. And you can kind of see what we call the hot spots and the dark spots on the field. The bottom two images, a more even distribution. That is what we are proposing as part of this project. So we are proposing new fixtures, new light poles that will be 80 feet in tall in height. But the advantage that gives us the ability to control the evenness of the light on the field and also to minimize off-field glare and spill. So the total foot candles will remain essentially the same at 30 foot candles, but the quality of the lighting and the quality of the lighting as it affects the environment or the vicinity will be dramatically improved. And the next sheet, I believe, Kadeem, illustrates the design. Oh, I'm sorry, there was a photometric plan in there. If you could go back 2 slides. No, go now forward. There we go. Thank you. This is just the photometrics of the field, of the lighting of the field, demonstrating how When we work ourselves off the track area, and certainly staying within our project sites, we are down to 0.00 foot candles as we move away from the track and field. So there's a dramatic improvement in spill and glare characteristics to the facility. Kadeem, if you could go now forward 2 slides, I apologize. And I just want to talk a little bit more about that top and loaded, bottom loaded grandstand system. I think it's the last slide, Kadeem, in our package. There we go. Again, the bottom left image is a section of it where we're, with the earthwork, going to develop more of a context of a hill, so that we have accessibility and accessible seating at the first row, at the lower elevation, and at the upper elevation, so you can access the grandstand from the bottom and from the top. Again, it totals about 970 total seats, and the press box itself is about 8 feet by 40 feet in length. We do have one discussion point regarding the press box that we'd like to review with the commission here, and that is typically these press boxes are clad in a colored metal panel, and the color options certainly include whites and grays, and that was included in our submission to the commission. But did want to talk with the commission about that, because there is an option, if the commission would like us to, that we don't clad it in aluminum panel, but we can get it sheathed such that we could, in the field, when the press box is shipped out to the field, could be then clad in traditional cedar shakes. So that is one of the items that we did want to review with the committee tonight. But again, I think at this point, Diane and John, if there's anything I've missed, if you can please jump in. Otherwise, Madam Chair, we'd open it up for questions.
Thank you, Richard. That's quite extensive. Does anybody want to say anything else besides holy smoke?
Madam Chair. Oh,
Go ahead.
We've
Kadeem.
got to, Holly, do you have some historic
Well,
relevance here?
first off, as a graduate of Nantucket High School, wow. But I wanted, when it comes to the demo application, I would respectfully request a separate application for the demo move off of the team room. Also, if we can get an age of that structure, the information that I have available to me is from 95. It was there when I was in high school and in grade school, but it may be older than that. I'm not sure. And the reason for this is, and I don't know if the agents are aware, but Nantucket has a bylaw where we want to reuse structures if at all possible before they're actually demolished. So therefore, the demo moves separately for the structure would allow that process if somebody is actually willing to or have had the need to be able to move the team room. So that was one question I had on the demo move. I do have other staff comments on the other proposal, but I'll hold that until you get to that, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. I mean, a graduate could just really want to have that team building. Can you imagine? I live in the team building. That would be something. Okay, that's good to consider.
Madam Chair, if I could just add one comment to that.
Yeah.
Mr. Ken, Holly, do that. We did have part of this design process to date, working with the campus planning committee. That was a question that was asked. We did have our structural engineers assess the building. They did not feel it was a suitable candidate for moving, but that being said, we will certainly work through that process and confirm dates and that sort of thing with this commission.
Madam
I think we
Chairperson,
just, traditionally, we put them, advertise them and somebody may come and take it away and be very happy with it.
Understand, thank you.
Madam
Um,
Chairperson,
Yes, John.
yes, I would like to make a motion to hold this for a week. I'd like to view it because I'm very confused about how much steel is going to be used there. And I'm interested in that. And it should be viewed by all members before we make a vote on this. It's a very important project to the town. And I'll hold a motion to hold it for a week for viewing. Thank you.
Okay, well, let me hear from the other board members first, John, and then I'll consider that.
Thank you.
Diane,
Sure, sure. Just for your information, when you asked about the metal or the shingles, if you ask me, I'd prefer to see the shingles than metal. I don't know why it would have to be metal for being the thing up there. I think I just want to ask you, how close does this come to the graveyard?
There is one point of the track where I believe it comes within about 8 or 10 feet of the property line of the graveyard. At
10 feet, Dick.
At one pinch point there.
Okay, I don't know. I see that there's that rectangle that comes out off the round part at the top of the track, and that seems to be right on the line. What's creating that peak that goes out towards the graveyard?
The reason that Diane, the reason that triangle or right angle is there at that corner is that's the end of the sprint chute for the track, and we have minimum dimensions. The sprint chute from a program perspective needs to accommodate the 110-meter hurdles, and we have required areas before the starting point of the hurdle and at the completion of the hurdle event for run out that we need to have, so that overall dimension working from east to west closest toward the wind turbine is a minimum dimension. We can't.
Okay, is that grass or is it gravel?
The track will be a synthetically surfaced track. It'll be a red color, as you see in many tracks, but it's an impervious track system. It will not be gravel. Okay,
well, maybe we need to sometime to get you to mark it off and we just take a look at it, because the hill back there, when you're driving down Spark Street and going by the Boys and Girls Club and then the graveyard, you see up the hill, and it may be high enough that you won't see that. I just question the proximity to the graveyard.
You are correct. We are tight in that corner. We are proposing a small retaining wall in that corner at that point. But I should point out also that the proposed elevation of the track is essentially mimicking what we have out there now. So you are,
yeah.
The track is comparatively speaking, the track is in a bit of a hollow, certainly compared to the cemetery.
Right. So it may be, not visible. The other thing that I question, because coming down Surfside Road, where you go between the little school and the fields and then get to the middle school, they have a fence there to fence off, I guess it's their baseball field. And in lots of times they have to run material. I guess there's a wind that comes down and disrupts the baseball field. I was wondering, maybe in some of these places, instead of having black fencing, you went for that green fencing where you're trying to mesh it in with other green things. And because whatever you do down there, there's going to be a certain amount of wind. It's not going to stop. I don't know whether you've noticed it, but going up and down it every day, you see them running material in the fence to keep the wind down. I think we've got to have it. So it's got to be, you've got to give the kids the best we can do there. And this would be it. I think it's done with some respect to the area for what you got to do. You can't take the school out, you can't take this out, you can't take the parking out. So as far as I can see on what you presented today, with Holly's thing about getting some individual demos and stuff, I would just say the shingle. If you do shingle and think of the fence color, that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Diane.
Madam Chairperson,
Hold on, John. I want to hear from everybody first. Is that okay?
go right ahead.
Okay, Carrie?
Yeah, I think this is thrilling. I think the kids deserve the best. And I have one question about the section, but I'd like to look at the overall proposed plan. Because the grade there, I'm a little bit confused at the base of the bleachers. It's at the level of the running track. The bleachers go up and then there's another level that's quite a bit higher. And I wonder how that connects to the other field, that high level that you're adding all that grade to. Is that flush with the other field? That seems like that's quite a change. So I'm just wondering what the connection is between this and the other field that's being proposed and height.
Yeah, we're essentially, yeah, I apologize for the confusion. Maybe I'll start with this section with the image. So the proposed track is essentially maintained. The new track is at the elevation of the existing track.
Which is the 25.5?
Grandstand, the first row of bleachers then is about 4 feet higher than that track elevation. That works up, and we are essentially, the dotted line begins to replicate some of the existing landform elevation. And so we're actually building more landform. We're building more vertical. Once we get to the top, beyond the grandstand and press box, it actually, the section here is kind of schematically drawn. The grade starts rolling back down toward Sparks Avenue, so that the second field closer to Sparks Ave is a little bit higher than the existing field is out there, Carrie, right now. But then we tie the grade back down as we approach Sparks Avenue. So essentially we're building landform in kind of this middle zone of the project and then sliding it and dropping it back off again as we work ourselves toward Sparks Avenue.
So I think a section to that other field might be helpful to see how high of a wall there is against that field.
Yeah, we're creating some viewing sloped areas. We do have one small pocket wall just to receive some bleachers, but we can certainly add we can extend this section.
That'd be great.
Can I just throw something out there? Carrie, we asked to have it done this way because there's an existing hill. So we built the stands into the hill, and yes, we had to add a little bit of elevation. It alleviates the need for an elevator to get to the press box, because it can come right off of the parking lot to the back of the grandstands, and our ADA compliance have been met. I just wanted to say that part.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I just wonder if the other wall to the other field, then there's an opportunity for some seating on that side to watch the sports on that field, on the other side of that higher level.
With this grading plan, Carrie, you can see here where there is, from the kind of the upper plaza area, the grade does slope back down toward the second field. There's no continuous wall on this side. There is right in the middle there an area where we can propose some temporary, what we call tip and roll bleacher systems. So we have a little, we have about a 3 or 4 foot high wall in that area. But then on the opposite side, closest to Sparks, there is no wall. The grade just slopes back down to Sparks Avenue itself. But we can certainly, we can clarify that by adding another section.
Yeah, that's great. And the other thing is, I also agree with Diane about the shingle. It's the only vestige of, traditional Nantucket is if the press box had a little shingle on it. And then the Sparks Ave side, the fencing that goes around the path for the children to get to the Boys and Girls Club. I would just ask that whatever it is over there, it just looks like it says chain link, of course, around the field, and then wood guardrail. Is the chain link, which side is the chain link on? Just the field side? I'm wondering what's on the other side of the guardrail, just so it's wood or something a little more naturalistic rather than metal.
Carrie, what we were proposing is again, maintaining, we've kind of established a campus standard regarding chain link fence being black vinyl chain link fence, and our hope would be to continue that. That being said, there are some areas that we want to put some split rail or guardrail in. The guardrail would be similar to what we've used on the school immediately at the west end of the existing track on that cross-campus drive. If you're familiar with that, there's a wood guardrail that separates the drive itself from the walk that the students take themselves over to Boys and Girls Club. So the intent would be to replicate details that are already present on campus, again, to try to visually keep the campus as cohesive as possible.
Thanks. I think this is awesome.
Yeah. Hold on, John. I just want to go and then I'll come back to you if you want to make a motion, but I just want to, I wanted to ask Richard about, is there going to be a landscaping plan? I'm specifically, off of Cary, I'm thinking like, what is going to be along Sparks Ave? And I also wanted to know, you came up with black link fence. Is that a less unsightly than a green one? And I wanted to know your thought on that. And I'm definitely for the shingles rather than the metal siding. So I was just wondering, so is there going to be a landscaping plan? And I was wondering about the chain link colors. What is the least offensive, because that's a lot of chain link.
Yeah, we have found the black chain link to be the least intrusive. One of the benefits of the black chain link is comparatively to some of the green systems. The green systems, sometimes they start out dark green, but they could begin to fade, and they become, as they fade, they become lighter and almost even more visually intrusive. So that's why in the previous projects on campus, we have used black chain link, and again would propose that use for this project. Understand about the Cedar Shakes. I think that's we've got a clear direction on that. We appreciate everyone's input on that. Regarding landscaping, there are some small trees and growth immediately to the south of Sparks Avenue. Our intent is to maintain those. The project's focus is on some of the athletic improvements, and there's any planting that would be done, with the exception of obviously topsoil and seeding any disturbed area. The planting is proposed. If anything needed to be done, would be accomplished by the school under a separate project.
Chairperson again.
Hold on, John. We're all taking turns, and you went first. So I'm coming back to you now. Yes, what is it?
Yes, my question is this. I made a motion that we take 9 and 10 after this meeting, hold it, I meant to say in the future. No, you can't jump those people will be here next week, but they should rearrange it and hold 9 and 10 for at least next week. Because when we leave this meeting here, I'm going over to view it. I hope someone's going to be there, can answer some questions for me or any other member that wants to go. But I would like to have a viewing right after this meeting. And
I'd actually like to speak, Madam Chair.
Oh, Steve, I'm so sorry. Could you weigh in on this, please?
No, I'll wait till John finishes his second set of comments.
Yeah, thank you. John, I like that idea. Can I hear from Steve first before we make a motion? Go ahead, Steve.
John, are you finished?
I'm here.
Yeah, I know you're here, John. I can see the top of your head. Are you finished yet?
Well, no, I think we should have the opportunity to view. I'm not telling them to view, but there's going to be more questions than ever now that the public sees this. And we're going to take quite a long time to do this application. I think there'll be a lot of questions from the public. So I'm
Okay.
just saying to hold it, at least we can tell them next week or whenever we viewed it. Did you view it? Yes, I did. That's the important thing.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
once Stephen has the time to talk, I don't think John's idea is totally crazy. I think we could just hold this for Tuesday's meeting in the position that it's in, so that you guys do have time to view it, as you weren't able to view this beforehand. I would be happy to put it on the view list, send this out to the board members, give you guys a chance to really digest it on your own, and then we could take it up again when it comes next week with the same board members that are present and on the meeting today.
Yes, and I see a little memo here from Diane. I just missed it, but she said she's there all afternoon. Did anybody else see that flash?
Yep, Diane did just put a memo in the notes for everyone that she's there all afternoon. So John, if you wanted to go up to the school, Diane O'Neill will be there, and you can definitely talk to her about the proposal. But this will, like I said, we can have it next week. I can send it out for you guys to view. The school is there. You guys can go and look at it yourselves as well.
Okay, thank you. I won't make dates for everybody, but John got that. Now, could I hear from Stephen, please?
I actually forgot what I was going to say, Madam Chair.
I'm so sorry.
This is just crazy. Yeah, I think I agree with the view. Obviously, it's an important project for the community, for the kids. It is in a visible area. I personally don't have any issues with anything that's been proposed. I think that it's either going to blend due to the distance from Sparks. It's not going to be visible, or it will be largely replicated, or perhaps even considered an improvement over what's visible from First Way. I agree about the black versus the green chain link fence. I won't I won't fight for a Pyrrhic victory on the metal versus the shingle, but I will note that 2 Fairgrounds Road is a building that has been in place for the better part of 70 years, and it's never had the shingles replaced because it's metal painted. So that will help cut down on the operations budget. And I think that all I would ask for is a copy of the drawings be emailed to us, so that if someone is going to go out for a view, they can have it on their tablet. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, I like that idea too. So John, on your motion for a view, could we also add that we get a set of these plans so we can look at them at home?
Right.
And yeah, so let's try your motion. Steve, on John's motion.
Can I get a clarification on the motion? It seems like it was so long ago we were talking about the demo. Was that held to track, or has that not been addressed? And if it hasn't been addressed, could John kindly affect his motion to address that?
John, you didn't talk about the demo of the little tertiary buildings.
I included both of them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so but what about the Teams building? Holly had mentioned that might go to somebody? Could that
No,
might-
no, John, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, but John's motion was to hold for a view, so we would just
Okay.
hold them
All right.
both.
All right, so,
And the 9 and 10, yes.
can we separate those so we can just separate the demo from this motion for review?
Abby, they are separate applications, and right now we're just holding both of them to track for Tuesday after the view, after I send out the applications.
All
to
right,
you.
great. Okay, so just on the view, Steve,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Diane,
Aye.
and myself, that's a go.
My question is, that's 9 and 10, right?
That's correct, John. That was 9 and 10. So now we are done for the
Oh,
day as we are
oh,
15 minutes
viewing.
past our usual meeting time.
Yes.
Call
we are
call
so
for
done.
viewing and nothing else. Okay.
Correct, John. It was held for reviewing and nothing else. I will send out the plans as soon as I can, and you're free to go to the school and talk to Diane whenever you're available. Abby, now we just need a motion for adjournment, please, and thank
I make a
you.
motion to adjourn.
Okay, all in favor of Diane's motion, Stephen,
He's already gone.
John,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
and myself, that's done. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you all.
you.
Have an excellent rest of your Thursday.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Holly. Thank you, Kadeem.
Abby?